Good evening, everyone. Are the board members ready?
Sure. Are board members ready?
No, I'm ready.
Of course.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Now that I have the right document up.
Let's get started. I'd like to call the Bristol Selectboard meeting to order for October 10th, 2022. Item 1, review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. I think Val, you added one just
Yes,
an
if we
hour
could
ago.
add the tax anticipation note resolution that needs to be signed by the select board.
Can we add that into consent agenda?
That would be perfect.
Board members, are you okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay, let's add that as item 4.
Perfect.
We have to wait on this apparently. I think we voted. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Anything else, Val?
Other than
All
to
right.
clarify that under the consent agenda, the Firehouse Apartments curb cut application should include the conditions recommended by the foreman.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Number 2, overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures, rules for participation. Please mute your microphones and be recognized by myself, the chair, if you wish to speak. Item 2, public forum, opportunity for anyone to speak 5 minutes or less on an item that isn't on tonight's agenda. Okay. I have just one in terms of voting. Everyone in the town should have received their ballots by now from the state rather. We do have 2 local ballots for Bristol, and those aren't sent automatically. So if you have your ballots and you wish to vote early, please request from the town clerk the local ballots. One is for the merger for the MAUSD school district with the district in Virgins. And the second item is a bond vote for replacement of the Pine Street water line. So those 2 will be our local ballot. And so you'll need to request that. Or if you're voting on the day, you'll obviously get them when you come in. And when you come in, please bring the ballots that you received in the mail. Don't leave them at home because those are the ones that you'll use when you vote on the day.
Are there any informational meetings scheduled for the merger, Ian?
Yes, there are 2. There's going to be one on October 18th, and that will be here. And then there'll be a second one on October 19th, and that will be in Virgins. And I believe there might be another one set up. I know that Linda Andrews with the Democrats was looking at doing a possible meeting. Because there's already 2 going on, she may not do that, but I think information was offered to her, and so she's trying to set that up as well. So yeah, plenty of information. And also those 2 meetings, one on the 18th and one on the 19th, they start at 6 p.m. At each of the schools, and there's also at 5:30, they're going to have a tour of each of the facilities.
So when you said the 18th here, I thought you meant Holly Hall.
Yeah, so did I.
It's a good thing
No,
you said
at
at
the school. Yeah, and then there'll be another one at Holly Hall on, let me just get my calendar here. So let's see. Right, so merger study, public Q&A on the 18th at Mount Abraham, and then at Virgins Union High School on the 19th. And then there's another one, where is it? Here we go, November 1st, merger public information meeting. That's at 6 p.m. in Holly Hall. And I assume upstairs. And that's on November 1st. And that's all I know. All right, so that was public forum. Department head roundtable. Let's start with Bruce, Police Department.
Thank you. So I just want to remind people that we switched about a month ago to a new phone tree system when you call our phone number due to the limited staffing at the dispatchers. So if you have an emergency, dial 911. Do not call the Bristol Police Department number, as you will go to a voicemail system. The voicemail does roll over to us on our phones. Most of the time, it's relatively quick. So be patient with us. We will get back to you as quickly as we can. And I do apologize if some of the voicemails were delayed because of the new system. But just to remind people, it's been somewhat smooth, but we've hit a couple of hiccups and we fixed those, I think. So that's all.
Great. Any questions for Bruce? All right. Thank you, Bruce. Let's go to Brett, Fire Department.
He was on, I think he disconnected.
All righty. We'll see if he comes back. Let's go with Sharon, Clerk's Office.
Thank you. As you know, we're gearing up for the election. I just received the MAUSD ballots. I need to print the ones for Pine Street, and then I will be mailing them out to the individuals who have requested them. The tax bills went out. We've had several calls about them. They don't like them, so that's normal. And then we have the mortgage companies that are requesting all kinds of information, especially for people who are delinquent. So the water bills went out, so we're getting revenue from that as well as from the tax bills. Quite a few people have come in and paid their whole year already. So just a lot of stuff going on, but those are the highlights.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Any questions for Sharon this evening?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's see. Did Brett come back?
Yes, he did.
He did. Brett.
Yeah, I'm
Fire
here.
Department.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to make one comment this evening, and really it's a thank you to all those on the fire department who, first of all, gave up a portion of their Sunday yesterday to support our, annual coin drop fundraiser. It's the first one we've had since 2019. Certainly we appreciate the board and your support of this annual event. It's very important, and it was a very successful day. And of course, we want to thank all the Bristol residents and those who passed through our community yesterday and gave to this cause. So again, it was a great day and a very successful event. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Brett. Any questions for Brett this evening? Okay. Thank you very much, Brett. And finally, let's go to Jill.
Well, not finally, there's Eric too.
Oh, sorry. He's always, I know. I can't see him in the background there. And all right, let's go to Jill, and then finally we'll go to Eric. Jill from the Water Department. Any updates, Jill?
Just two quick things. We are expecting our rebuilt pump back towards the end of this week. So once we get it back, we'll plan the date to reinstall that. And we will be starting to winterize hydrants starting at the end of next week. It's always done right around October 15th, unless we see super duper warm fall weather, which right now it's looking like we're going to get some freezing temps coming in the next couple weeks. So we'll probably stick with that October 15th. So winterization includes the 9 hydrants that don't have bleeders on the bottom, opening up the blow off at Sargent's, shutting off a number of services at the rec field, etc. The creamy stands already asked to be turned off. So it just kind of kicks in all of the winter is coming and shuts certain stuff down that needs to not freeze. So just a heads up that that's coming. So again, if anybody's operating hydrants, just give us a heads up which one you're operating. They all have little hydrant tag numbers on them now. So you can even say the tag number is this. Just kind of makes it even more obvious which hydrant it is, besides the fact that they're pretty well located near certain known structures in the village area, on certain roads that also make them pretty identifiable. So that's pretty much it.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Jill?
Yes, any update on the status of the generator and the other install and pump, one of the pumps that's down?
Okay, so that was my opening. We are supposed to get that pump back by the end of this week. Once
Okay.
that is installed, then the VFD install can be finalized, which would probably be the following week.
Okay.
Once that's finalized, we will be on the continued 3 to 4 to 5 month wait for the second VFD.
Okay, thank you. I didn't quite catch all that the
We're
first time.
kind of, we're
around.
getting there. We're just, yeah, the big piece is to get that second pump back in line once it's rebuilt by Roger.
Thank you.
Then they
That's-
can come and finish the install.
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
thanks.
That's good to hear. Thanks, Jill.
Yep.
And finally, Eric.
Up to the table. And
Nah.
don't trip over the phone cord.
So, we started getting the trucks ready for winter. We got one of them ready to go.
Well, now you've done it.
We started up on the storm drain on top of Basin Street. We got that about half done right now. We should finish that up tomorrow morning. Started ditching on Knox Road for the grant that we got. It's supposed to be done sometime December, which should be done way before that. What else? Pretty much most of we got the Mac is down again. Air valve will be in tomorrow, so hopefully that's in tomorrow. We'll get that back up and going.
What's the status of Lincoln Road? Are they working on that?
I have no idea.
What I can tell you about that is that they're doing data collection, site visits and just kind of gathering that baseline information right now.
Okay, that's good. It's moving along. All right. Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric?
Everybody saw I'm assuming that most everybody saw the pictures of the repair today or was there and see
At least
the
on the
problem.
board.
I didn't think about it at the time, but one of my concerns at this point is where did that gravel come from that filled that hole? Which means there's a possibility that the culvert under the road has failed, and that's where the gravel came from. So Eric already knows about it. It's going to keep an eye on it. If we end up with a bump there, we'll know that we've lost gravel in the road and we're going to have to do something crossing the road. The hope is that it will carry us over until we start that Basin Street project.
Okay. Did they end up finding the pipe or no?
My guess based on the pictures that I took last year is that it's down another 4 or 5 feet. And, so it'll take a while to get a bump in the road if that's where the gravel's coming from. But
So
once it appears,
the bump, what is the bump from? The road dipping or?
yeah,
Dropping.
Okay.
my guess is there's no other place for that gravel to come from other than
Underneath.
under the road.
Right. It's not washing down the drain from someone's driveway.
Not that amount. No.
So I didn't think of that when we were there today looking at it, Ian, so
Okay.
it dawned on me tonight, hey, that had to come from somewhere.
Right.
Oh,
I mean,
probably the fact-
even if you had, you'd still
Yeah.
need to, yeah. Okay.
So hopefully by leaving it there and letting the water filter through it, we'll buy ourselves enough time to get the project underway. We just need to make sure we incorporate those drains in that Basin Street project.
Okay. Yeah. Val was saying that was part of the plan. So, well, or I guess it would be revisited if it wasn't, right, Val? Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you, Eric. All right. Moving on. Item 4, consent agenda. This is 4 items that we have. Approve and adopt a proclamation to declare October 23rd to 29th as Childhood Cancer Awareness Week in Bristol, as requested by Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated. Number 2, approve a resolution to reappoint the town administrator to the Addison County Economic Development Corporation Board of Trustees. Item 3, approve curb cut application for the driveway access to Firehouse Apartments from Firehouse Drive, which should include the conditions listed by the road foreman, and the tax anticipation letter,
Resolution.
resolution letter, or letter resolution.
Resolution.
Move to accept.
Okay,
Whatever.
Yeah.
Second.
okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on those 4 items, on any of those items? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you,
That's great.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on. Item 5, regular business. 1, continue discussion regarding options for a future location of the Bristol Police Station and steps forward. Michael Perpal of the Cushman Design Group, I believe, is on Zoom tonight with us. There he is.
Yep.
Hi, Michael. All right,
Hello.
Val.
Well, Michael was involved in the design process for the Stony Hill Business Park project, but it's my understanding he was also involved in the the design of the fire station. And so he's here tonight to help let us know. And for those of us who weren't part of that process earlier, this will be new information. But for those of you that were part of it back in 2014-15, this will be a walk down memory lane. But hopefully that Michael will share with us some information that'll help us decide how and where to go forward with discussing the location of the police station.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I forwarded some visuals. I don't know which if I'll be sharing those or if that's being
Well, we
controlled
can
on
make
your
you
end.
a co-host. So why don't we do that?
Yeah, if that's the process. That's great.
Yeah, my screen's all wacky right now. Let's see. Michelle, can you guys do it on your side?
Yeah.
I have all these windows popping up. I can't find things.
So yeah, while that's getting set up, yeah, my name's Michael Perpal. I'm an architect at Cushman Design Group. I actually joined the office in 2016, so I was not part of the firehouse project. It was, I think, completed
won't- sorry,
construction
Mike.
when I was showing up.
Valerie, it won't let me. I made you host.
Oh,
so
okay.
It won't let me.
Got it. I shall try that. Let's see.
So Milford Cushman, the owner, and at the time, Andrew Valansky was the architect of record for the project.
Got it.
He's left to start his own office, and I've been handling most of the commercial work for the last 3 years in our office. So been involved with Kevin Harper in Bristol on a variety of projects, the tech park, a little bit of the firehouse apartments, schematic planning. So just happy to present our work. We're really happy of all the relationships and projects we've been involved with in Bristol. So it was great to see this project, maybe this police station, come back to life a few weeks ago on our end. So,
You're a co-host now.
all right, thank you.
Mhm.
I'm going to pull up some drawings, really just a recap of the 2015 work. Yeah, so this is page 1. These first 3 pages are early schematic site plans on how the fire station was just explored to be sited with the main road out here. South is to the back of the bottom of the page. This is scheme A. Scheme B was actually a pretty similar to the route that was further explored. More of a north-south orientation for the garages with admin alongside it. And then this is one scheme of parking on the back of the site. There's an option C, which is more of an east-west approach of the garages. And of these three schemes, we were asked to develop one. It was somewhat of a hybrid. So it was later in March, on the 29th, we came back with what I think is a pretty similar site plan to what was actually executed, with the addition of a police station located south of the fire department building. Some of the driveway circulation is explored here with future parking around the police station. After this meeting, there was another refinement of this site plan. So early April of 2015, we have the fire station, and essentially its built location with the police station aligned with the entry to the west of the site, staff parking, and then a variation of driveways to the south with more future parking schematically located. This police station footprint is 3,000 square feet. So we have some 2013 work with the police department over in Bristol Works, and that the plans from 2013 were about 2,400 square feet. So this footprint seems to be based on that size of a building program with some room for growth. And I guess it'll be up to the current leadership to see if 3,000 is the right number, or if it's bigger or smaller. So we have a recent hire in our office who's involved in a police station in Essex, and he just advised me that they had to make a conscious decision on if they wanted to plan for a 20 or 30-year building, or to plan on a 15-year building with a likely addition as town growth occurred. So that's just a part of the discussion to be thinking about as site planning. If you can get to a reliable footprint size, that's going to help inform the parking and the rest of the site and the stormwater and a lot of those factors. So I'm sure there's been a lot of thinking about that along the way, and that'll be key to some early stage site planning. The rest of this packet shows the development of the fire station. A part of the alignment of the police station with the south fire station entry was a thought of potentially using some of the common spaces within the firehouse, potentially having those help support police station operations. So on the first floor at the south entry, there's a conference room. The elevator and the stair are immediately at that south entry. And then on the second floor, aligned with that is a big training and dining room. So whether or not that idea is still appealing, that was part of the thinking that went into the placement of the building where it is on this site plan. Further development of the site of the fire department project started. We looked at some landscaping along the west edge and then stormwater to the south of the site. Further development of that into the actual construction drawings. We still see a footprint on the site plan for the police station. Obviously, there'll have to be some reconfiguration of the driveway around that building if that site is still makes sense. And then the last few pages of this are actually the construction floor plans for the fire department, just showing those community spaces are more or less where they were schematically planned. The conference room at the first floor, and then the larger meeting space above, or training space. And then I just included an aerial shot of the current site situation, which looks like it was from last summer when the tech park site work was just beginning. So we see some of the stormwater features towards the south of the site, but really just the built condition of the fire department. So any questions on any of these plans? I'll just gonna scroll back to, this seems to be the most,
So Michael, can you, in this scenario, can you physically connect the buildings with a walkway to make them like considered one building so that we could use the elevator from the firehouses without having to put another elevator in the police department?
I think that would be possible, yes. Yeah, the fire station, the size of it would allow for technically, it'd be an addition of the size of 3 to that would be a pretty viable option. I think we would take the vestibule off this building and essentially create a connected walkway or a hallway.
Yeah.
And then I think that would work conceptually and definitely code wise as well. So you could capitalize on the expense of the already installed elevator. Yeah.
How would you connect the second floor to?
Okay. You talked about someone on staff working on another police building, and you said it 20 or 30 year or 15 with additions. Is there a standard that you generally work with in terms of the longevity of a building?
Our office, we take the long view on all our buildings. We do a lot of renovations of historic buildings, which we take down to the studs and really plan for a long term. The fire station, we don't do a lot of municipal buildings, so I can't really speak to that. But I think I don't know the population perspective of Bristol, so I think that would have to be a town discussion. See what's likely to happen over the course of the time, if expansion would even be anticipated, or if I guess that's what I'd say to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But obviously the longer thinking is better. Just in terms of, not having to redo stuff in 10 years or 15 years. But obviously, depending on what can be supported here in a town of our size.
Right. And along those lines, we'd recommend planning for this project with an allowance for a potential addition. Say that could just be another 50% of square footage. So if 3,000 square feet seems like the right number now, we could similarly draw some dotted lines on the plan for a 1,500 square foot addition, should that be necessary.
Okay. Bruce, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Not at this time, anyway.
Okay. Are you happy with? Sorry, go on, Peter.
Is that 3,000 square foot building 1 story or 2, or do you in the plan?
On this drawing, that's the 1-story area. So if you were to go 2 stories, that would double.
Well, it would double you to
Smaller.
6,000 feet, or it would reduce your footprint.
Footprint, right.
Sure, right. Those are both good options.
Bruce, is there any objection to having the office space upstairs as opposed to having it obviously you'd have to have some space on the ground floor with your Sally port and that, but could you do most of your administrative stuff above?
Yes.
Well, you're quick with a simple answer.
I prefer to keep things simple and get it done.
So you're at, what was the amount? You're at 2,400, is that correct, currently at Bristol Works?
I think it's right around that.
Okay. So that would be adding in another 600 square feet, but obviously maybe it's a combination of reducing that overall building size, but doing 2 stories, and maybe that brings it to 4,000 or something like that, depending on how much space we have to work with at that location. But I do think it makes sense to connect the buildings. I know Peter has mentioned that before, and I think that especially with 2 stories, you could either do a walkway or you do a full 2-story connection, so you can access from one floor or the top floor.
Well, you have to do in order to
Full.
take advantage of the elevator, you have
Yep.
to connect both
Both
stories.
Yes.
stories, yeah.
Oh yeah,
And I think,
Yep.
you know, based on the footprint there, just roughly, if you shove that police station to the north and connect it, you've got more than enough space, so it would all fit right in the green space that's there now.
right.
Which would, you know, parking would obviously have to change some at that point, but
Oh, yeah, and I mean, if you can't get rid of that stormwater pond or the
yeah.
pond, that changes things too. Mhm.
But we do have permission from
Kevin.
Stony Hill to look at the possibility of eliminating that stormwater and using theirs.
Yeah, because we do have, I mean, if you can, Michael, if you can go to that satellite photo, we can look at what it currently looks like. You know, there's a pretty decent amount of space. There we go. You know, after the current parking that's there, that doesn't even start to run in and hit that stormwater area. But of course, we've got pipes and stuff there. So I imagine we could just be able to, you know, if the building footprint is over the main sidewalk going in, and then maybe hits where that car is parked right there. That's the end of the building at the front of that car, sliding that
The
driveway.
building doesn't even go that far when it's 3,000 feet on the other plan. And
Right.
not,
No, it looks really small. It's like a shed almost, but it's obviously not, because the fire station's a good size. So
but I think
Yeah.
you could easily fit a couple thousand feet
Just
in
on the
that
green
green
space.
space
yeah,
if you connected them.
Mhm.
yeah. And then we'd obviously be moving the tanks that are there, which I think are those white things right there, right?
Yeah.
And then we would continue the drive around and then have the parking sort of in that green space area. So we may not even have to touch that stormwater area, hopefully. We'd be able to leave it intact. And are there any other areas that we would want to picture it here? I mean, I know that we want to connect it, and that seems the obvious way, and that's how it was designed. But are there any disadvantages to keeping it in this area, do you see?
Disadvantages to placing the police station here.
Yeah, just sort of yes.
Pretty much in that green space where the sidewalk is what if you're gonna connect them.
Right.
It's gotta be close
Right.
enough to put a connector there,
Mm-hmm.
utilize the elevator, which is right about where your cursor is.
Yeah.
Right.
On the other side of it.
I don't know, Brett, are you still on? I don't know if you have any thoughts or opinions on this. Obviously, you have used this space for the last 5-6 years more than a lot of people. If you can imagine a building suddenly being there, looking at, in that parking area, do you see that impacting anything that the fire department does?
No, I think obviously the front is not an option. That's your septic system. I think that just this is only Brett LaRose's opinion. The most viable option would be a 2-story addition off the back vestibule of the existing fire station. You simply extend the upstairs lobby, goes down to a hallway, as somebody already noted, possibly administrative offices for police upstairs. And you would have to just push parking out back somewhere. You always have to keep in mind, one of the great advantages of the current setup over there is having adequate parking for the first time in the fire department's history. And we certainly wouldn't want to go backwards as far as the number of available parking spaces. So as long as that was being taken into consideration. But no, I'm a huge fan of, if the decision is made to construct a police facility, why wouldn't you take advantage of the infrastructure that's already in place? As Michelle noted, the elevator, the septic system, there's already a generator there. We're already sharing the spaces. That happens today. The training room, the conference room downstairs, the locker rooms, the showers, those are all shared spaces today. That would not be a change or a new practice for us. We have a great working relationship with the Bristol Police Department.
Okay.
Brett, what
there-
about outdoor trainings and other flushing of water and stuff to maintain the equipment and those kinds of things that you utilize the open space for?
As long as it's engineered where, we're looking at the rear ramp of the fire station, the large, pervious surface there where a lot of water flows, and eventually finds its way. Well, nothing actually finds its way to the stormwater ponds. I've never in 6 years seen standing water in those ponds. But anyway, as long as, it's being taken into consideration where it goes, because it's when we're hosting a pumps class over there, it's nothing to discharge 60,000 gallons of water. That's not unheard of by any means. But I think if you put a police station where we're discussing right now and, the drainage is taken into consideration, I don't see any impact.
Okay. Brett, let me ask a follow-up question. Is there something that, since we have this opportunity, is there something that you feel is missing in the fire department building that you'd like to see maybe be utilized in a police building, like, public space or something like that, where you're like, you've come up against something that time and time again, you've wanted that maybe we can put into the police station design as a possibility?
Again, this is only my opinion, but the few when I run into Mr. Harper and I run into Milford over the years, I still to this day say, I can't think of one thing I would have done differently, and that's just kudos to all the people who contributed to this effort. And as far as the use of the common spaces, let's call them in there, I jokingly call myself the events coordinator as well, because, I'm the person who unlocks the facility for every group that enters that facility, which is a weekly thing, and returns to lock it up and to make sure everything's put back, etc. So I'm certainly not going to sit here and say we need additional space. I think the spaces that are there, and with, continued cooperation with the police department, obviously fire and police having first priority over those spaces and their uses. And just as the policy reads, we're in the emergency services business. Stuff comes up unexpectedly, and there will be times when a group may be planned to use such a space, and we'll have to ask them to, go someplace else, because that's just the nature of our business. But it's never been a problem, and I certainly don't anticipate any such problem. So as far as additional space, the answer is no for me.
Okay. If we're looking at the design, Bruce, and maybe you can answer this, since we've got that road that's right there, would you be considering like a Sallyport area that would drive from I guess east to west, like straight through the building? Is that something, as opposed to always having to go in the front? Is that part of a design that would be useful?
Yeah, that would be one of the ideas that we would certainly explore and hope would be feasible.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may, just one more comment. I certainly, the drive-through concept is an amazing concept, and we were fortunate to have the space over there to construct that. It's just from a safety aspect, it's huge. Backing up emergency vehicles is very dangerous. So, but also keeping in mind how that building was designed, it's designed on flow, how we utilize it. That one-way drive and those 17 dedicated parking places on the west side of the building, that's where your responders respond to and enter, either the front door of the facility or the back door into the locker room, away from vehicles to get dressed. So, understanding we potentially may lose a few of those parking places, I just, again, would like to always keep in mind, the flow and making sure our responders, volunteers essentially, who are not, we're not staffing the building and are coming from a distance, have a place they can park quickly and get into the facility and get dressed and get going.
Okay. Have you ever run into issues with, so there's 17 there, with all of those being filled at any given response?
At a given response, Ian, no. Meetings, scheduled planned events, when people are coordinating their schedules, that's when we see the full parking lots. When we host special events or we host a large training, it's obviously we've had lots of real estate with the availability of Firehouse Drive not having any other businesses or residential buildings on it. But as we all know, that's changing right in front of our eyes. So, always keeping that in consideration as well, that parking is a premium, and we certainly don't want to go backwards.
Yeah, and I think we have the space to accommodate as much parking as we'd like. Obviously, as you said, you might lose a couple of those if you're putting the building right where we've discussed, and if that doesn't impact your emergency response, then that's good. And I think we can make that up with additional parking to the, I guess it's the south of a new building. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so a drive-through. Bruce, are there any particular things? Obviously, have been in your space at Bristol Works for a while. Any particular things that feel that you're missing from your building now that you would like to see in a potential new building?
I'm sure there are, but that's something that we could further discuss once we have an idea of what the footage, the footprint looks like, and work those details out.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from the board for Michael?
I'm thinking that maybe if we're doing a conceptual drawing, we want to keep it somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 feet if we're going to go 2 stories. I think the room is there, and I'd rather be a little bigger than what we need right now than a little smaller than what we need in a couple of years.
Yeah. So Peter, are you thinking like a 2,000 square foot building?
Yeah, so you'd end up
with 2 stories?
With 4,000 feet.
Yeah. Assuming that the 2,000 square feet is enough in terms of what's needed on that first level for car accommodation, things like that.
Correct.
And whatever else might be on that first floor. I don't
If you were going to put everything in 3,000 feet, then 2,000 feet should more than accommodate what he needs on that ground floor. I would assume.
Okay.
But until he gets it mapped out and can actually physically see what fits where, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good starting point, starting with a 2,000, but with 2 stories. And let's see what we can put into each of those levels, if that's going to be what we need, and also to get an idea of how that road and parking might look, how far we need to move that southwards to accommodate.
Right.
Val, how do you want to proceed in terms of next steps on this?
Well, that's a good question. I guess we would need to find out from Michael and his team, perhaps ask them for a proposal for going forward in terms of timeline, cost range, estimated cost range. And because obviously Michael is, at least I don't think, is prepared for that tonight, although maybe so, but I don't think so.
Not quite, no.
Right.
No, this is.
We needed to have this conversation first to talk about, to kind of narrow the scope down to what we're focusing on.
Right, yeah,
And we didn't expect that at all, Michael, so.
that's fair.
Oh,
Thank you.
we expected drawings to build with tonight. What are you talking about?
Yeah. We can propose, we could put together a proposal. We would, I think we would title it Master Planning Schematic Design Proposal. More like a feasibility study, something along those lines to just explore the building size, possible floor plans, floor plans to explore the possible layout.
Yeah.
And then, so site plan and floor plans would be included, just so we can start to map out the areas, the flow of the site, the driveways, the parking, all those factors. So we can put that together
Fantastic.
and get that over.
At what point would an engineering firm be brought in to work on the civil side of things?
Pretty soon, once the building floor plan was in good shape, where we had confidence that that's essentially the building that you wanted, that's when we would have a civil engineer get involved to make sure that the septic and the stormwater and the parking was all really, what we can do is plan our best route for that, but that's where we really need their input. So that would probably be, could be 2 or 3 months after we started our work.
Mhm.
And these site plans were with Green Mountain Engineering, which I'm not sure they're operating.
No,
anymore.
they've closed their doors, but the engineer who did the bulk of the work on the fire station and Stony Hill Business Park, he's now a consultant who might in fact be available to work with us on this. I haven't contacted him. I'm just speculating, but maybe, maybe it would
Okay.
work.
Yeah, that would be that would be a really good route to explore as a plan A.
We
That would
can,
be-
to the extent we can build upon the knowledge that's already in place, I think would be very helpful.
Absolutely, agreed, yes.
Okay. What do you need for that, Val? You just want to proceed? Do you need the board to approve anything to move forward on that?
Well, let me ask Michael when he thinks that a proposal might be available for the select board to review and decide, kind of give the green light for going forward.
Okay.
I could, we could have that by the end of next week, so within.
Oh, my. So
within a
that
couple
would be in
weeks.
time for the next select board meeting, which is the 26th.
That 2 weeks from
Yep.
today?
2 weeks.
Yes,
Actually, it's
yeah,
the
that's-
24th.
Oh, the 24th. Okay. Thank you, Sharon. A Monday. It's the next
Okay.
Monday. Or 2 weeks from 2 weeks from today on Monday.
yeah, we could have a proposal put together definitely by then.
Okay, well, I think that'll be helpful for the select board to kind of see what the road looks like going forward.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us this evening.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me, and I'll
Yeah.
follow up with Valerie.
Terrific.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Michael.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Speak soon.
Good night.
All right. Any other details we want to talk about on this particular agenda item, or should we move on?
You can still get into hers.
I'm good.
Okay. Item 2, consider the proposal to mine gravel from the New Haven River.
I think Michelle might want to take the lead
Yep.
on this one.
I'll take the lead on this one. When we were doing our tour, our little bus tour around the town, Peter and I were talking about the river and all the rocks and gravel that comes down from all the storms that we've had, and he said it was like rerouting the river down by the second bridge. So I had reached out to Kristen Underwood and asked her about it, and she put me in contact with a couple state people. So I reached out to them, and they are willing to come down and meet with us so that they can see what we're talking about. And basically said that as long as we comply with our plan, our town plan, zoning regs, whatever, and the need is really there, like there's really a change in the river, then they don't see it as a problem, so to speak, but this is the state, so. But I've also reached out to Amy Sheldon, who helped the town of Middlebury put in their river management plan. And her and I are gonna talk so she can understand what we're looking at to do, and she also might be willing to help us. And I've also downloaded the Middlebury's plan, draft plan. I haven't read through it, but I did download it, so I'll have that too. But the state has offered to come down, so I thought if everybody was on board, because Peter can talk better than I can about where it changes and that.
So if you can scroll down a little further, Valerie, so you,
No,
the other way.
Other way.
The other way, the church, beside the church.
Yeah,
Down more. No, straight down.
straight down. Keep going.
So right about where your cursor is, the water used to go, if you can see a gap in the trees, to the left of the cursor. No, the other way.
The other way.
A little further.
There you go.
No, further left.
Further left.
Right
This
there,
one?
right there, that gap there, that's where the water, that's where the river used to go.
Wow.
And now it runs further north and it made that big hook up top. And I'd asked Kristen after we did the project down in South Bristol about mining from there, and she said it was a possibility. So Michelle just is better at following up than I am, obviously.
So what's so given that, let's say we get the go ahead, how much is there? Is it worth mining because there's a great deal there, or?
Well, the
It's-
Lincoln Road has gone in there twice.
Well, and it's also taking out property from people to the north, right?
Yes.
Where it's eroding. Yeah, it's eroding all the bank on the north.
Yeah, it's going up there and swirling around.
So now it's way up there.
Yeah. You know, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it is that first spot there that's open.
I was gonna say, I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think that's right there.
That's where it's going now, up through
Right.
there.
Mhm.
You're thinking.
So
So
you're-
maybe the
where-
first spot where it's open, where you can see the water, is where it was originally.
Go back up, Val, push your, yeah, so I think that's the right one, right there.
No,
Nope, oh,
Right
Right
in
there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
that
and up
river's
between
taking
the
a hard
trees.
right, Peter, right
Like-
there,
Yeah,
Like
and going
this,
up there. Oh,
like this here, right?
that's where it's going now.
That's where it's going now. It used to just come around there, this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, well, I don't know how old that photograph is, but I think that may be
2022
22. Oh,
Yeah. satellite photo.
because
I
I
think
know
it's
that,
worth looking at.
yeah. I mean, there's probably 3-4 years worth of gravel in there that if we were able to get it out, that the town would be able to use crush.
or just at the least, wouldn't it be, put the river back in its own bed
Yeah.
and.
On
that would
Lincoln
help the
Road.
neighbors?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
if we had been able to mine this, you might have been able to use it for the repair on
Yeah.
the Lincoln Road.
I mean, there's gotta be a ton of our rock down there because it's not showing up in the river. It all got deposited somewhere,
Push to the north, and when it turned, it settled there.
but I think it certainly bears taking a look at it.
Okay,
I'd
so you want
be
me to reach out and
agreeable
see if I can come up with dates? At least that you and them can get
Yeah.
together. I don't know that I need to be involved, but I can coordinate it.
I'd like to be involved. I'd like you to coordinate it though.
Yeah,
You-
sure,
you-
I can do that.
Oh, yeah, you get
Like-
across,
I know you can
the-
get equipment
the
almost
church,
anywhere, Peter,
yeah.
but you
Okay.
can, okay.
Yeah.
Well, where it's ended up now to the far north, it looks like it's almost the end of that what's that called?
Rockydale?
Rockydale Road, no, it's not called Rockydale Road, what's that little
Oh, that little road there.
road that the few developers.
Yeah, Rashawn and Steve Wood.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't think of
what's
the
the
name
name
of
of
it.
that road?
Which one?
Sean Smith and, Steve.
Phil
Jennings.
Bedell and
If you put it back there, Valerie, you can see almost. If you put that,
Want the image back up?
yeah, one more time.
I just asked how accessible the site was, like, can we get equipment down here? And it seems to be the
you
answer,
can get in
yes.
from the back end of the church there.
Slide it down a little bit.
This way?
No, the other
Yeah.
way down.
It's
No,
Rivers.
it's not the right way.
Right there, see if you, that last house there, it's almost green grass.
Yeah, it's taken their backyards
Yeah.
now.
Mm.
See, right in there, if you went right in there and took
Well, you
that.
can't go down over there. That's about a 50-foot bank.
Oh, okay.
Where you gotta go in is over where it shows it back.
Go back up, Val.
How far?
Up by the church.
Yeah, right
Keep
where
going
it's,
up.
right where it says New Haven River there is,
Yeah,
yeah, if you go in back of the church, you can go right down in there.
Okay.
you can cross the river.
Well, I don't think the stuff we wanna take out is
Oh,
on
yeah,
the, is on the
side.
left-hand
Okay.
side of where it says New Haven River there.
Yeah, okay.
No, the other New Haven River.
To the right.
Right
There you go, that one
you
there.
go.
You wanna take all that out?
Yeah,
But don't you think the other stuff at the other end where it's eroding, that,
I think
Stuff
that
too.
stays. You wanna
Yeah.
put the river back over here and.
well, no, I didn't know if some of the gravel was being deposited out there as
I
well.
don't think it is. I think,
Okay.
I think it turned it.
Mm-hmm,
It turned the river and it's
okay,
washing that out.
yeah, okay.
This is going to be a stupid question, but I'm prone to that.
There are no stupid questions.
Does the river flow north and then hook around and come around that
Yes.
way?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Okay.
Right now, it's going to the right there. It's
Immediate
go-
right.
Yeah, no.
No, keep
Yeah.
coming back, where you said New Haven River to the.
About where it says river.
Yeah, and then it
right
goes
through
to the
there,
right,
through the
right
trees.
through that.
Right.
Right
right
through
Oh
through
my
the
God.
trees.
Whoops,
Gated
sorry. Ooh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question in terms of the property. Who owns property? Does the town own property around the river, or is it the property owners around the river that own the river?
It's the property owners.
Property owners
Okay.
usually own either, depending on how they lay it, it's either to the edge or to the center. It's usually to the center of the river.
Right.
So obviously we need to be
State-
working with the property owners there if we're doing any digging and taking out gravel.
Right, there's a date in the surveyor's
Yeah.
code.
So I'll try and figure out a time. I'm assuming during the days and you're more available to now.
Daylight would be best. Yes.
I wasn't thinking Saturday.
Jimmy's
but-
got a question.
Right now, I don't have any help.
Ian, Jimmy's got a question.
Jim,
One question, guys, does the Army Corps of Engineers have to get involved in this?
The state will probably tell us that.
Yeah, I would imagine they
So
will.
you cover it, you know.
Yeah, anytime you do anything in the river over a certain length, the Corps has to be involved.
Yeah, it's good to get in touch with that. Thanks.
okay, thanks, Jim. All right, so Michelle will reach out and we'll continue discussion on this at a later date.
I'm gone the first 2 weeks of November.
Okay. All right, excellent. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks, speaker. Item 3, consider increasing the mileage reimbursement from 45 cents to match the federal rate, which is now 62 cents.
2.5 cents. Val, can we just make this as standard to say whenever the federal rates change, it changes here?
That's what I propose. That's what I recommend.
Sounds
I'll
good.
make that
And-
motion.
And
However we need to
as a
make
matter
it.
of fact, very few employees submit mileage reimbursement requests, so it would not be a huge impact. But it would be a huge impact to those employees.
Well, I'll make the motion to change the mileage reimbursement rate to the federal rate as of July 1st of each year. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Sometimes I would look at it, I'd change it to every 6 months because it changed in January and it just changed again.
Well, I'm saying, whatever the
I get the
federal,
federal
whatever the
rate,
federal
but it
rate
changes.
changes.
Right,
it's
or
here.
just whatever the federal rate is.
I'll second
Okay.
Michelle.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Right?
All those
Great.
against, nay.
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right, item 4, consider establishing fines for those people who do not get a work in the right of way permit.
I'll take the lead on this one too.
Good, 'cause I was reading that and
I haven't had a chance.
I was going
a lot
up
of information.
Notch Road to go somewhere and come up over the hill, and all I see is this cone in the middle of this road with a guy standing next to a truck. And nothing. I'm like, what the heck is going, and once I get up to it, they're cutting trees. So I wind up turning around, because I said to the guy, how long are they gonna be? And he says, I don't know. I mean, they had the whole road closed. So I turn around, get on the phone with Eric, and I said, Eric, where are you? And he's like, I'm at Notch Road. I said, oh. So after I went all the way around to get to where I needed to go, I met up with Eric and I said, well, what's the ramifications if they don't get one? He said, there are none. I said, well, then why does anybody get one? So I think we really need to have some kind of something that says, make it hurt. If you don't get one, there's gotta be some ramifications. Otherwise, there's no reason to apply and get one.
So as I noted in my report, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns established a model, what they call highway access policy. And it covers curb cuts and it covers work in the right of way. And I included a link to it on the website.
Yep.
It's definitely a different application and review process than we currently have. And what they advise is you can adapt this policy to whatever fits your town. But it does include some nice enforcement and penalty section. And it's a policy of what they've drafted. So it's not an ordinance that has to go through that whole posting and all that stuff process. Although we'd still, if we did go in this route, whatever route we go, we would still, of course, let the public know that this has changed. So anyway, that's an option.
Who does the
Is there any-
enforcement?
Right, I was gonna ask that question.
I didn't hear the question.
Who issues the fines and who does the enforcement? Is that
Well-
gonna have to be a Bruce thing, or is that the zoning administrator, or?
I think the select board can designate any number of enforcement officials, whether it's Eric, myself, Bruce, or another officer, any law enforcement officer, constable.
Okay.
And I, depending on which route, it would be a civil penalty. So perhaps a ticket could be issued, or some other approach. I haven't studied it very, very closely, but might be something we want to look into.
I gotta ask.
Would we need,
So, hold on.
no, go on, go ahead.
So Green Mountain Power stops and changes the little street light, the truck's in the roadway. Or we see a lot of Contel, Waitsfield Telecom, or Xfinity, which is Comcast, doing up on a pole or up on one of them things you see, the wires coming into it. Their van's in the road, yellow light's going, and the cone's beside it. Slippery slope, I think we're going down.
Well,
We
no,
wanna
I
be
mean,
careful.
personally, to me, they should be, and I don't know if they can do this with every town, but apply for a work in the road right away every year. That's good for the year. Yeah, that's good for the
Kind of
year.
like driving on a
Like
weight
the
permits.
Weight
Yeah.
permits, right.
Because if they had to get a permit for every time they have to stop work on a
Right.
pole,
Yeah, no, I would say that they should,
That makes
we should
good
email
sense.
all of them and say, you need to apply every year for this permit.
That makes good sense.
Otherwise, if we're gonna go this route, they get fined.
And at that point, we can also inform them that they need to comply with the
NUTCD.
The new policy.
standards, yeah.
Yeah, which they don't,
Yes, I know they don't.
Oh my.
especially Comcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it so that those companies were once a year.
So, yeah, so.
I don't think we could do it on a, because it could be any given time. We don't want them saying they're not coming to Bristol when we have a windstorm because they don't have a permit to work.
Right.
So Peter, you're saying the utility companies?
Yeah,
Like Comcast.
everybody.
GMP,
Yeah.
Waitsfield,
Yeah.
any of those could get a once a year, but the
But-
smaller people who are just doing piecemeal, then they have to come in and get it.
Regular
Right.
contractors would have
Right.
to come in and get one. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, under the new policy approved very recently by the select board, work in the right of way permits now are $100. So would we assess this $100 fee once a year fee to them?
Why not? Yeah. It's once a year. It's not like we're asking them to pay every time.
Right. So
To me,
that's why
that's
we make
minimal.
an exception for them.
Mhm.
I mean, either they pay it or we fine them when they come to work.
Right.
Well,
I mean, are you doing
mean,
it? Are you doing
I
it
think,
for $100, or are you doing it for $500 because it's a year? You know,
Mm,
what's the
One
what's the
permit is
thinking
one
there?
permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I would
the
think.
one, but it, yeah. I mean, you
Wasn't-
could get a
wasn't the
local
idea-
contractor coming in and paying $100 and having 6 jobs that they're doing throughout the year, potentially, right?
well, I think that, I think that that's acceptable, but I think when you go, if you go to do a new house and you get a curb cut, you're gonna pay for that work in the right of way at the same time. The contractor's not
Yeah.
gonna do that. So I think it's two different. I think it's,
Two different scenarios.
yeah, I was kind of wondering when we did that, I was kind of saying it's gonna be a pain for a contractor who does bounce around and do a lot to come in every time and pay that $100. There's a lot
But
of
then they
times-
should just bill it back to the property owner that they're doing the work for.
Well, they probably will.
Yeah, I'm sure they will, but I can see,
Pushback.
I can see a lot of pushback on it. Like Joel says, it's a slippery slope. I don't have a problem with it being incorporated in the permit process. But if we're gonna require contractors to do it, I think we ought to afford them the same luxury that we would Comcast or Green Mountain Power or Waitsfield Telecom. And allow them to pay $100 and be able to work for a year. I think they still have to notify, I think
Interesting,
the contractors would still have to notify us.
right?
Whereas somebody like the power and phone company, if they're just going up a pole, I don't think,
Somebody's house.
yeah, I don't think we will wanna make them notify us every time.
I mean, they got a transformer out in the middle of 1 AM on a Sunday night in the summertime, and Eric's sleeping. I don't think Eric needs to be woken up and said, "Oh, we're gonna be working in the right of way. We're gonna honor our commitment. We paid you $100."
All right, but, okay, so that, say we get the contractors, they get a work in the right of way permit. They're required to follow the MUTC
Yeah.
standards as well, and if they don't, then what?
Or you can shut them down.
You can find them. Can you find them?
As of right now, no.
No.
But I think it, I
can
think,
tell them to stop working.
I think that that's also different than the utilities. I think that we should be notified, or Eric should be
Notified that.
Public
they're
Works
working.
should be notified that they're gonna be working.
Right,
I'm gonna be changing your driveway culvert
right.
in the right of way, then he knows it's happening. And
Interesting.
I have to have my permit to do it.
So currently, if Eric's not notified, like the example that Michelle gave driving up the road, like how much does that impact our Public Works department? Is
Well,
it a
Eric gets
thing
the
that
phone call that says, do you know they've got the road closed? And he has to leave whatever he's doing to come check it out.
right?
I mean, I don't know, did somebody complain to you that day, or did you?
Yeah,
just
you.
happen to be no,
Yeah,
I
you.
didn't, he was already up there.
I sent Chris up for something, and he come across it, and he called me, and I said, all right, come back and get me, and
Yeah.
I'll go up and talk to him, so.
So Eric, you went up and talked to them, and what are you telling them? I just want to get an idea of like the scenario and the situation that we're trying to improve upon.
Well, basically, they had the tree almost all down when I got up there, so, and they had the road blocked for, well, Craig, you could ask Craig Scribner, cause he's the one that, he got caught up in it too as well. But my guess is they probably had the road blocked for a good 15 minutes to a half hour, cleaning up the tree that they knocked down. And the tree ended up getting caught in the power lines, from what I've been told. And they finally got it out, and then that's what ended up blocking the road. But I will say, for what it's worth, they did do an excellent job cleaning it up after they got done. We didn't have to go back and do anything with the road and everything, but they didn't let the public know, no signs at all whatsoever. They just had a guy on each end.
And they weren't really directing traffic, they were just kind of standing there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so that's what we really want to improve. It's not necessarily like, yes, it's nice that the Public Works Department knows about this. So if Eric gets a call from an irate resident, he can say, yes, they're working in the road. But what we're trying to improve here is safety mainly. So you know what's happening, at least you can understand what's happening in the road, and you're not, maybe, going around a cone and running right into something that's going to damage your car or damage you.
Did they say, well, we didn't know we needed one?
No, he knew he needed one. I talked to one of them before. The time that I met you was the second time that I went out there. The first time I told them that they needed to get signs up, and they said, all right, we'll go find some. And then they were-
Go find some.
They found two people instead.
they found
Let's
two
get a piece
people
of
instead.
cardboard. Maybe
Yeah, wedding this way.
And then, but yeah.
Okay. All right.
Can
Yeah,
I ask?
I'm
Wanted to
Yeah,
cut? Okay,
it is.
okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with the $100. I mean, the $100, we upped that cost a little bit just to cover the town's costs of doing these permits and the administration costs. It's not like this is a money earner for us. And
Well,
that we're
actually,
trying
there was
we're-
no fee whatsoever
Right.
for all this time.
Right. And it's,
So it's a new fee.
it is some time to do this, right? It changed around a little bit. So it's not like we're trying to make money from this, but it's obviously we don't want to, as Speaker said, we don't want to inconvenience people to a point where they're like, they don't even want to work in Bristol anymore because of all of our red tape. So we should think about that, like trying to make this as easy as possible. And I think having the $100, if you want to keep it at 100 for the whole year, or it's 100 per incident, I mean, I think that's beneficial to a lot of people, especially utilities and contractors who work in the area. That seems like a good thing to do.
Yeah, I think something new where you're applying for a driveway access or that gets charged out with the permit. But for going and changing somebody's culvert or whatever the case may be, where you end up in the road.
Yeah, like tree people,
Yeah.
arborists or whatever. We could, and if we make this change, we could notify obviously utility companies and arborists and things like that. They're the ones who really are going to work randomly at random locations, potentially in the road. So.
Well, I know like last year I did some work for Bristol Works where I was, taking the pavement out right up to the edge of the road. And that would be something that would be an extra added cost for the customer if.
Yeah, but not to interrupt, but don't they get that money back at the end if
No.
everything is okay?
Not anymore.
No.
Oh, they don't get that back anymore?
No, because this is for administrative costs, your costs of going out there and examining and
Oh,
whatever,
okay,
make sure
gotcha,
that.
gotcha.
No, we changed that.
Okay.
Remember,
So I
and
think
it's going to your budget, Eric. Remember that?
Ah.
You're right.
It's your little nest egg.
Yeah, don't spend it all in one place.
No.
We're gonna build you a new building.
I think something existing is
One
different
permit
than
at a
something
time.
new. I think we should leave the work in the right of way with a new water line or a new
Driveway cut.
curb cut, or
Okay.
if somebody's doing a new house and they have to get a curb cut, that would include the water line. The work in the right of way would include the water line. So we wouldn't charge them
$100 for that.
$100
No,
for
it's
the
a one-
water line and
one permit.
$100 for the driveway and $100 for the power.
Yeah,
It
no.
would all be
Right.
covered.
Well, the way it's currently structured, that there would be $100 fee for the work in the right of way and $100 fee for the curb cut.
Correct. But we wouldn't charge them another $100
Right.
to work in the right of way for the water and another $100 to put their power to the pole if the pole was in the right of way.
Right, yeah, correct.
Or
One
would
work
be
in the right
just-
of way covers that whole business.
Yeah,
For
for that
yes.
project.
Right, for that project, yeah.
for
Yeah.
new construction.
Correct.
And
So,
then
so
for,
given that we've just we've approved that new form
Mhm.
for working in the right of way or curb cuts, looking at the VLCT one, that includes language for that kind of form. Do we want to, is the next stage, maybe Val, you would work up a version that we might take a look at
Sure.
for the fines side of it, but also be able to include language and maybe alter the form that we just did to include maybe language that would incorporate for the fines, as well as maybe something else in terms of what the VLCT suggestions
Well,
are.
I think it goes beyond the forms. The select board would need to adopt a policy. And so I
Okay.
think the next step is to develop a policy that outlines all of this
Okay.
and explains it.
And we currently don't have a policy for this, correct? You said you
No,
couldn't
and
find
when I
one?
first
Okay.
came on board, I looked for a curb cut policy. Other than the standards, that one page of standards that sometimes does and does not get photocopied on the back side of the permit, I could not find any policy or
Okay.
ordinance that related to curb cut access. So I think this would be a good direction,
Okay.
at least some form
All
of
right.
it.
Okay. That sounds good for me. Anyone else have any questions or comments regarding this item?
Yes, I'm gonna bring up a little story that my carpet cleaner from Burlington area tells me in Shelburne. We're getting there, people. When he goes to Burlington and takes his 4-inch hose, suction hose, and his 1/2-inch high pressure hose into a house, he has to close the sidewalk down and pay the city $100 for a job that cost him probably $150 to do a piece of carpet in that house. Are we going down that road too?
I'm
So,
sure he's
with-
passing that cost on. to
Oh,
his
sure
customer,
is.
Yeah.
But so if one of the Main Street owners down here, or not even Main Street, one of the people can't get off the road, not get off the road, can get off the road, but crosses with a high pressure hose and goes in and has their carpets cleaned in their house, any street with a sidewalk, and crosses over the sidewalk, is that our next step? I just think we're creating a problem.
they're not working in the right of way. They're parked in the right of way, but they're not working in the right of way.
Well, Comcast was parked in the right of way, and
They're working there though.
they're working on a pole up above.
But that's still the right of way.
It's still the right of way. The
pole
poles are
may-
in the right of way.
But their van is what's got to go around it. If they could do it with a ladder like they used to do, and they don't anymore, because, but I just think we're creating a problem that we're trying to create something that we probably
No,
don't.
the problem is already there. I mean, to me, the problem is already there.
Yeah.
We just don't have any way
enforce
we don't
it,
have any way to
right.
enforce.
I mean, it's not
Joel,
like
do you
being a
feel that it's something that shouldn't be enforced? Is that where you're going? That you're
No, I'm not
that you're
saying
concerned, like
enforce.
if we create this?
I wouldn't mind a blanket permit for working, if you think you're gonna be blocking the street or working in the street, okay, they come over and pave my driveway, and the paver has to go out to the edge and back. Pay $100 more for that permit? For an hour worth of paving, 2 hours?
Not if that contractor.
If I'm going to the edge of the road?
If the contractor gets a work in the right of way permit, which he needs it regardless. So if you let him get it for $100 instead of charging him $100 each time, if he does 10 driveways in town, it's only $10 being passed on to the customer. It's not $100 for each one.
So we have to create something that differentiates between parking your vehicle on the road and working. Right? That kind of thinking like Greg Butler came and did work at my house. He parked his truck,
On the road.
on the road, but the work was in my yard.
Yeah.
So would he?
Is that the same as the Comcast guy? The pole is off the road?
That's what I'm asking.
up
That's
there?
what I'm trying to.
He might be
I'm
going and
trying to
reaching the
differentiate
side.
No, he's
that.
working
He
in the
might
right
be
of way.
working on, but that bucket on his truck might be parked on the side of the road, and you're fixing the spot, or Green Mountain Power is fixing your front thing hooked to the side of your house.
Yeah,
Your electrical.
I'm trying to, how do we make that clear, or does it need to, I'm trying to make it work in my own mind. But I agree, we need to be able to enforce what we have, or what's the point of having it? So. I don't know the answer.
Well, let's let Val
Let's let
create
Val-
something and then we
Yeah.
can,
Yes, please.
Maybe in this policy, we define what work in the right of way is. And is
Maybe
not.
it's something of, if it's going to be over, I don't know, pick a time.
I don't think time has anything to do with it. It's actual physical work in the right of way that's what you need the permit for.
So,
see, like if you're.
Parking a
if you're
vehicle-
Butler, if he's parked on the side of the road and then he drives the lawnmowers off his trailer into the road, you know, technically.
like I said, we're, you know,
But, I
a
mean, that's
couple out of state doesn't know anybody. Car breaks down, tire rolls right off and breaks in one of our not a pothole, a very smooth road, but the tire came right off. And AAA shows up and they gotta change the tire right there. They're working in the right of way. See the slippery slope I think we're going down? I
A
wanna
little
be
bit of
careful.
common sense goes.
I get
along
it, Peter, but sometimes policies and common sense, it's like, Montpelier, when they get there in January, they open up the windows and throw common sense right out the window. And I don't wanna do that here. I don't know if we've got that big a problem yet. So,
Maybe we include a caveat in the definition about emergency situations.
Yeah, that's true. But I do feel Joel's right. That's why I was asking Eric, like just trying to get an idea of that situation and what we're trying to do.
Street all summer long, never got a permit.
But I do agree that whatever
I took those pictures.
company or whatever is actually working in the road, they
Yeah.
need signs up.
At least.
Yes.
And if they have to come in and get a permit, they will know because it'll be in that packet that they have to.
Right, these are what you have to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they don't, then we've got grounds. Right now, we have no grounds to enforce anything.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and it's more, enforcement is part of it, but our main thing that we're trying to do is educate people to be able to use what
Education and
they,
safety, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I haven't been able to hear all of Eric's comments, so I'm curious to know what Eric thinks about this approach that we're going down.
I'm fine with it, doing a blanket permit for people, like, utilities and contractors that work majority of the time, say in Bristol. A blanket permit is good, fine.
But they need to notify you or
I
when
would like to be informed of what they're doing, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that still should be in there, so I can go check on them and stuff, or
Okay,
keep an eye on what's going on.
I think that's imperative.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like Jill and Cy, if they don't get notice ahead of time of what the hell's going on, how can they know that it's done right?
But I
Jill,
do-
any comment on that, Jill, or the direction that we're going with this particular policy?
That actually happened at the end of last week in a pretty big way. And there was an instrument of pain that created a moment of aha for the contractor. So, meaning, a 4-inch tap in a main, didn't bother to let the water department know, made a big fat hole in a water main. We were livid. So, there was a way to handle that, which was very appropriate given what it is, and handled pretty quickly by the contractor. But yeah, I feel like Eric's utilities are the roadway and the sidewalks, and our utilities are the water and the sewer lines. And also Eric's got the stormwater infrastructure too, so he's got quite a bit going on. And but our biggest concern and why we might seem like our feathers are ruffled anytime we see a machine in town, it's because we're like, oh man, they didn't even call us to mark out the water lines. What if they hit something? Somebody puts a tap in without the water department there, and it's like, how do you know that they didn't get junk in the water line and that people aren't going to get sick, and that it's watertight, and that you're not dumping, millions of gallons a year in the ground? So it's really just comes to, for us, it's the safety of the systems, it's the protection of the systems, and also just wanting things to be done in such a way that they're adding value to your water and your sewer company, and adding, not taking functionality away for Eric and for the highway department, making sure nobody's gonna have a car accident because of it.
And what Jill is referring to is the project. I issued a stop work order on the project that Jill was referring to pretty quickly, I might say. And and it worked in terms of the pain that was inflicted. So that was our means of enforcement at that time for that situation.
Yep, we had
So
a
is-
conversation and we definitely explained that it's very clear in the permit. You didn't abide by it. I thought it was wonderful that Valerie pulled the paperwork together quickly and that the contractor, you know, the lead contractor took it well. The site contractor didn't take it as well, but they all did what they had to do to get back in order.
Mhm. And they're
So
back in
it's,
order.
it's a matter of just the permit not being read as it should for that particular incident, correct? And not
Right, but I mean,
not
this
a
is
lack
this-
of education on our part, on the town's part,
No.
to inform
Really,
people.
it's that the information didn't come down the tree. You
Okay.
know, from contractor to subcontractor, from owner to contractor to subcontractor, all those details.
That's,
Yeah, and I-
that's a policy we just put in effect not that long ago too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Okay.
I mean, I see it as something similar.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, and I asked not to point fingers, just to see if there was a breakdown on the town side not educating, and how do we prevent this for future connections?
I don't
This
know.
type of enforcement, the word will get around.
Mhm.
It's also a communication issue between whoever gets the permit to pass that information down.
Of course, the contractors, as Picker knows, they dial DigSafe, and we don't belong to DigSafe.
No, but they tell you you have to call your
Yeah,
water
right, I
operator
know,
because they
do,
don't
'cause I
belong.
call- Right, and, but you didn't get 48 hours, you didn't get 2 hours notice on the one on Saturday that I called you, correct, Jill?
It was 7 o'clock in the morning was the phone call.
Yeah, he was
So
starting digging at
there.
7:30.
Yep, that the call was at 7. He woke him up. He said, I'm going into town right now. I want to see what he's doing. Yep. Yep. You know, even though
No stop work order there, but they weren't tapping into the water line. But it needed to be visual to you guys before they buried it, you had to see it.
and it was
That's
still, it was an, I hate to sound like a parent, but it was like, it was an improvement on the past. So I kind of was like, okay, we're making steps. You know, we're making steps in the right direction.
Joel, you brought up belonging to DigSafe. Is that something that we can belong to? Is there a reason why the town doesn't belong to that?
Don't know why we don't.
It's
The
a
water department's
cost,
pretty,
isn't it?
the water department's,
It's
it's a cost.
it's $25 a call. I don't know if it still is. Jill probably can. It's $25 a call for every time somebody calls DigSafe in your area that you have to pay to belong.
Okay.
Yep, I think you're right. I mean, we don't belong to DigSafe. So what happens is it just goes to, they're supposed to call the town, which they then call us and ask us if we can dig it up. We can mark it out. We're pretty swift about it because we don't want people hitting the water lines. So
Do we call DigSafe? Does you as water operators call DigSafe when you're opening up
oh yeah.
I call it safe.
Now, years ago, I looked into DigSafe membership, and I don't know if the per call fee has changed. Back when I looked into it, it was $1, just $1 fee per call. But to become a member, you also had to provide them some very detailed mapping of your system, preferably in a GIS format in a particular format for their system. And I don't know if that's something that Bristol was in a position to do. So I don't.
Right now, I'd much rather have our water
Yes, I
operators
would too.
marking it out than to have somebody DigSafe market.
Because DigSafe, usually, they've done up 2 spots that I've had to do for the bank. They hook onto the power or the communication line going up that pole, and then they go with their wand along the ground. With the water, I'd rather have our operators find it.
All right.
Yeah. It works out good because then we can kind of peek in and we don't know about the project, so we can kind of peek in, and if we see that they're getting awful close, be like, How's it going? You know, the water line's right there and you're about to hit it.
Right.
Or see that it's undermined if possibly they dug right underneath it, or who knows? There's all kinds of things that happen.
All right. Thank you, Joel, for that information. So we're in agreement that Val is going to work up some wording for us to look at the next meeting, potentially, Val, a couple weeks.
Well, I can't guarantee it'll be for the next meeting. There's
Okay.
a lot on the plate right now.
I mean, it doesn't have to be. I'm not
No,
suggesting it
no.
needs to be
Well,
in 2
yeah,
weeks.
some it definitely it'll be in the in the pipeline.
Okay, nice. Okay. Any other questions, comments regarding this particular agenda item? No. All right, moving on. Item 5, American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funding update.
I do not have much to report. The committee met and they are going to be continuing to look through the over 500 community responses for recommendations. I will be adding a column to the matrix regarding other funding sources that might be available for certain projects that have been listed. And then we'll review that and other things at the next meeting. So at the next meeting, I think we're going to be beginning to refine some of the recommendations for the ARPA funding. And perhaps, Ian, perhaps you have other things to add to that.
The one question I had, and I sent it to the chair of that committee, and I was told that it would probably be at a further meeting, would be, we have our list of 500 ideas, and
many of them are repetitive, by the way.
right, yes. There's a lot of overlap and a lot of similar suggestions, but one of the questions I had was sort of how, if some aren't detailed, how do we make them more detailed? Is that the response of the ARPA committee themselves? Is it the responsibility of the person submitting it? Like for me, I submitted a bunch of things. I'm happy to go into more detail just because I submitted them. But I think for others, it would be, maybe it's just a sentence or just a couple words in terms of what they should do. And if it's something that people is just a small bit of information about a particular suggestion enough for someone to be interested in it to then pursue it further. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that or how the committee is going to do that. And I don't know if it would then become the select board's responsibility to sort of flesh out some of the ideas that are being put forth.
I think some of the overlapping ideas do include some level of detail. Not all of them, but I think when you go through all the lists and kind of combined the similar concepts, that some of them do have some more detail to them and others won't, like deal with affordable housing. Well, how are you going to do with that? So I don't know. I think we'll just have to, after the next meeting, just kind of sort that out.
Yeah. And for people that are interested, on the town website in our agendas and minutes under the ARPA Funding Advisory Committee table, the community data sheet, the matrix of all those ideas is on there. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and anyone can sort of download that and take a look at everything that's been suggested so far. We've had a great deal of suggestions from residents of the town as well as people from outside the town as well. So it's kind of fun sort of going through. And Jessica Teets, who's a Bristol resident, she teaches at Middlebury College. She and her students went through and sort of input all that data of all the information that's been collected by the ARPA committee, submitted to the ARPA committee, went through, put that in, and then sort of broke it down into different categories. So it's kind of interesting to see how all that information came in, and it's nice to be able to see the overlap too, and similar suggested ideas. She put all the information in, whether it was the same suggestion from two different people, it goes in, and so you can just see how many people are interested in similar ideas and suggestions. So it's definitely worth looking at. Let's move on then. If you don't have anything else, Val.
I don't.
Okay, great. Thank you. Item 6, accept Bill Elwell's resignation from the Bristol Fire Department.
Motion to accept his resignation with regret.
Second, and wish him well and send him a note of thanks from the board.
And hopefully I pronounced his name correctly.
You did.
Question,
Oh, good. Yes,
Brett.
Brett.
do we send thanks to all past members of the fire department, does the select board?
I don't know if we do, Brett.
I don't.
You don't, then,
I don't want to set a precedent.
okay,
Thank you.
You can send him a card.
okay,
We, the fire department, have thanked him, and I've already personally thanked him, but I
okay,
I
all
don't want
right.
to go overboard for any particular person. Thank you.
all right, no problem.
Okay. So we have motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Okay, moving on, item 7, review and approval of the September 14th and the September 26th meeting minutes.
I didn't get a chance to look at him.
The September 24th meeting minutes were sent out this afternoon. The 26th is still in progress.
You mean the 14th?
14th.
Yeah, well, what, September 14th were sent out earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look. You want to push those? So let's push 14th and 26th and potentially another one till next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 8, authorize accounts payable warrant and any liquor licenses. Sharon, anything interesting happening?
Okay, I don't know if you saw my note on the AP regarding the generator, whether we should go ahead and pay the second installment. Right now, we have a finance charge of over $500 on it. So I included it, but just wanted to know if that's your pleasure,
Why do we have a finance charge?
because we haven't made the second payment for the generator yet.
When
And I
was
know
it
we're
due?
getting close, but we've been holding the payment. So the other question is do we fight the finance charge because we haven't paid it because of the issues that are going on? But that's not my call.
I would say we fight it, being the fact that we didn't get our generator for almost a year and a half,
No
and
kidding.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would pay the second payment, but I wouldn't pay the finance charge until we argued with them.
I would agree.
Okay. And who will be the person that will contact them and let them know?
I believe that should come from the town administrator.
Or the treasurer.
Treasurer authorized to pay the bills that we tell him or her to pay. I think legal stuff or opinions of the board ought to come from the town administrator.
I don't know, I look at that as, it's a bill. We can direct him to make that communication. I mean, but I guess it doesn't matter. I mean, Val's got enough on our plate. I don't see why Anthony can't do that.
I'm fine with Anthony doing it. I think it's just, it's a bill, and we're not going to pay a finance charge because of the service that we've received and how long we've waited.
Okay. And second, there is a liquor license. This is for South Mountain. It's their third liquor license, not third liquor license, but number 3, whatever. They only do it for 6 months at a time, so it's up again. And the conditions that we had last time were they must close by midnight with all customers out, the exception of New Year's Eve, which they can stay open until 1. And the other one is they must close the overhead door by 10 p.m. if there is music. So those are the two conditions that are typically on the first and third license. So if you don't have any other conditions or are fine with that, then I will approve it in the system tomorrow so that they can get going with that, because it expires at the end of this month. So
Okay. And those were Bruce's conditions or the police department's recommendations, I believe, from last time.
those have been on their
Yeah.
liquor licenses all
Yeah.
along. So
Um, Bruce, have there been any issues with that business and the times and stuff like that?
No issues or concerns.
Great, fantastic. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with keeping it as we've done it in the past.
okay. I will add those conditions and then approve the request.
Is the board happy with that?
Yeah, works for me.
Do we have to sign those, Sharon?
No, it's through a portal now. I'm the only one that does. If
Okay.
you want to sign them, then I print them and you can sign them, but they don't go anywhere. So I'll just put on there the date that we discussed it at the meeting.
Just
Perfect.
ask.
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Sharon. All righty. Where are we at now? Item 9, Select Board Roundtable. Let's start with Peeker.
I am good.
Michelle,
I'm good.
Carla,
I'm good as well.
Joel,
I'm good.
Wow.
and me. I'm good as well.
Holy.
Holy moly. I think that's the
Is-
first time ever.
Is everything running smoothly? Good Lord.
That's a good sign.
Earlier, so.
So somebody
true.
should-
I will say that I had a great time at Martin's little gathering that people have mentioned previously in this meeting a couple Saturdays ago. It was great. It was the most cars I'd ever seen parked at Martin's. And
Oh, no
usually
kidding.
Martin
All the way
says,
down the street.
yeah, I know. Usually they have a good amount of cars there, just for an average day of business. But yeah, we went down, we parked at the skate park, my wife and I and the kids, and then just walking back, just seeing like the amount of cars parked everywhere. It was pretty incredible. But it was great. And everyone was there, including people from obviously out of town and stuff. So it's amazing how much response he got. And obviously I think it was 24 years they've run that business. So that's pretty impressive. And it's a great business. And I hope that the service continues to be as good as it's been all these years.
Anybody go to Tillerman's like last weekend or something or other?
I went during the week.
Well, I came down through, it must have been Sunday night. There were cars parked everywhere on 116 over across by Heises. So I didn't know if anybody knew what was going on.
Wedding or something? I don't know.
Well, no,
Yeah,
it was
I
like
saw
late
that.
at night. But I couldn't
Yeah.
believe the car, they hadn't parked, normally cars were on. They
Yeah.
were not parked there. They were all the way down 116
They
and
were.
over in Heises and Masterson's like garden. It's like, unfortunately, so I just wondered if anybody knew what was going on, because I didn't see any signs or anything that something happened.
I think there was a wedding there, but I won't swear to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
On Sunday night.
All right, let's move on. Item 10, Town Administrator's Report.
I have nothing to add to the written report.
Okay. Let's see here. Item 6, Other Business, Correspondence Reports, Correspondence Received. Didn't
Nope,
see
just the
anything
budget
else.
status report and
Yeah,
letters
couple
from
newsletters.
area organizations.
Okay. Terrific. All
Although I
right.
do hope the select board does review the budget status reports. They're offered once a month, and hopefully folks check them out.
Is
Let
there-
us know
is
if you
it
have any
possible to get them
questions.
in a slightly higher resolution? I feel like I'm really squinting to sort of read some of those numbers.
No, well,
I don't know. Where does that, I guess it's a Xerox, right? Of a
Yeah,
print?
right.
But I don't know if we can just get a direct export from the software program.
So that's a good question. I will ask Wednesday about that.
Okay. I mean, if it's more work, obviously, but I feel like it seems like it would be more work to Xerox something and then send it a PDF.
I know, just send it as a PDF.
Yeah.
I think that's a
There's
good
obviously some-
suggestion.
It comes up as a PDF from Nemrick, so there's no reason it couldn't be sent directly from Nemrick, so.
Yeah, I mean, if that makes it easier, feel free to do that. I know that this one's written on in Xerox, but yeah, if you have the PDF and want to drop it in, not that it's unreadable, but I was always curious about that.
No,
Yeah.
it makes it lighter the more times it's copied.
Right. Okay. I don't think we have executive session tonight, unless we do.
No.
Oh my gosh, it's
Ooh,
8:44. What's going on here? Is
Motion
everything
to
building
adjourn.
up? Is everything building up for 2 weeks from now?
We do have a special, I just want to just point out that at the next meeting, we will have a special information meeting about the bond vote coming up. And then there will be a special select board meeting on November
7th?
The Monday just before the vote, so November 7th, which will be a special meeting. And then the select board will have the regular meeting on the 14th.
The 7th is just discussion on the bond vote? We won't
Correct,
get 5
That's
more
the
things
plan.
on the agenda?
correct. That's the plan.
Okay,
Unless there's
that's the
something so
plan.
pressing. Because there is 3 weeks between this meeting, well, the 26th and the 14th of November.
24th.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why I have 26 stuck in my head, but you know what I mean. And so there's 3 weeks between that date and the November meeting. So then the November 7th meeting might actually be a little bit convenient if something urgent.
I can see now adding a bunch of stuff on it. I won't
No,
be
no.
there, so I don't know.
I will resist. But
So,
just saying.
A question regarding that. Currently, we have the ARPA committee meeting at 7 p.m. on November 7th. Does that move
Oh.
then?
They will need to move.
Okay.
Or it happens at the same time and I'm just not there and you're not there.
We have our November 14th meeting, select board. Does that one slide to the 7th, or do we have one on the 14th and the 7th?
Because the agenda is intended to be limited on the 7th, I was not planning to slide it. I was planning to have the regular November 14th meeting happen as planned.
Okay, that's fine.
Because
So this is
there's
a
likely to
special
be
select board meeting.
more stuff to include.
I can
Okay.
see that November
Let me just-
7th meeting being at least an hour and a half. 5 minutes on
Don't
the
jinx
spot.
us, Joel.
Be 5 minutes
Okay,
on
so
a special
special-
bond vote. Anybody got any questions? Anybody?
You're right.
No, I think it'll be a good opportunity for us at that time to actually go through the logistics of what we know about the bond vote and the potential impacts on the ratepayers.
Oh, I take that back. Okay, I thought you were thinking about the one for the election day on the merger. All the.
No,
This isn't
No.
it then. Okay.
Just the bond
No.
vote.
That one.
No,
would be
we
a good
don't. We don't.
discussion.
We're not part of that. That one's on the November.
Hold on then.
Whenever that is. I just said it already.
Right, yeah.
November 1st is the merger public information meeting upstairs at Holly Hall.
Mhm.
Okay, we've had a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle did.
Okay, great.
I didn't hear the motion.
Michelle made the motion.
Darla
I'll
seconded.
second it.
Excellent.
All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you so much.
Done and done. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
See you in a little while.
Thank
Bye.
you.